road to the shoulder, to the ditch, to the edge? Or where does the road end?
It's the edges of the shoulder.
The edges of the shoulder.
The driven roadway goes up to the shoulder, then you've got the shoulder, and then usually the ditch, typically, okay?
I think our roads need to include the ditch because of the water.
Right.
And the hard rains.
The ditches are assessed at the road survey as well. If it's a gravel road, we're looking at the cross section of the road. We're looking to see that the ditches are clean, the shoulders are clean. What state those are in. That gets documented as part of the road survey.
Then my last question is this ISO. We determine our ISO as it is now. Right?
Your east.
Easel.
I'm sorry. Your
Easel.
easel. Okay. Okay.
I don't know. That's another
So I'm sorry. Could you ask the question again?
What's the word?
The easel. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Easel. So right now we have an easel that will be determined based on the kind of traffic.
A threshold. A threshold will be determined based on the kind of traffic you have and what you have in your roads.
And we would use that as our baseline, right?
Yes, well, there's two different, okay, I can see where you might be a little confused. There's two different terms I used here. There's baseline traffic, okay? The baseline traffic is your everyday traffic that's generally traveling on your roads, that's traveling on your roads. Your pickup trucks, your passenger cars, your school buses, your UPS delivery guy. That's part of your baseline traffic, okay? That's one component. Then I mentioned the minimum impact threshold. That's where the easels come into play. This is a number that we'll set with the town that says whatever developer traffic comes into this town, they have to hit X amount of easels before phase 3 of this kicks in. Because if they don't hit that number of easels, there's not enough traffic there to get worried about and get everybody all, going in every direction. So does that make more sense now, the two different parts?
Well, it just seems to me that any developer's traffic related to pipeline activity is going to be above and beyond the current road usage.
It likely will be.
Yeah. And should be so stated.
Well, we have to have a number.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We have to have that number, and that will be stated. Once we get through phase 1 in the training, there's actually a form that we'll fill out with the town, and we're going to establish what that number is going to be. I can't give you that number right now because I haven't looked at your roads yet. So we don't know what you got out there. So once we do that, and I'll sit down with the highway super and we'll come up with that number and say this is what we're going to use. And the reason we have to have that number again is to keep it fair for everybody. Okay? We don't want them fixing stuff that's not their responsibility, but we also can't have a different number for every developer that comes in here. That wouldn't be very fair. That wouldn't last very long. You guys won't end up in court. So we set that number, and that's the number they're measured against.
Okay.
Yes, you're welcome.
So on elaborating on to the minimum load, like you said 119.
Okay, in the example,
in
yes.
the example,
Mm-hmm.
But if they come in at 118 and there's still damage to our roads, then they're not responsible for the damage. They have to meet. I mean, does Constitution and Kinder Morgan, do they have these numbers that are put out by your company? Or they look at them and say, oh, okay, we have this number of trucks to get in.
I see what you're saying.
That's my point.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Avoid.
Yeah. Now, first of all, we don't distribute these numbers to everybody. And that example I gave you was also based on a 50 minimum impact threshold. Your towns may be different, and they don't know what that number is. That's only known by the town and us. That number doesn't get released to them.
So will that number you presented tonight be different to what you present to our town? Because this is a public meeting.
Again, I can't set that number until we've done the road assessment to know what you're... Because here's the thing. One town could have a foot of material on a road, and another town could have 6 inches of material on all their roads. So one town might be able to handle 100 easels no problem, but the other town can only handle 50. So that's why I can't stand here and just say, for every town it's going to be this. That's why that was an example based on 50, just to give you kind of an idea of what kind of truck, I mean, so that you know that 2 dump trucks isn't going to spawn all this. We need to see a fairly significant number. Yes, sir.
Is that per day or for the whole project?
That's for the whole project. They have to give us a total for the whole project, what they are planning to do. Yes. Yes.
I guess my question is for Mark and Jeff. When they do the road use plan, will you present that to the public at a public hearing for review and comment on that, or how will that,
I'm sure there will be a public, public meeting to have copies of it out from what we get figured out when we get it.
Will that be after the fact, or will that be during the development process?
Right now, the development process, I think to be honest with you, I'm not sure whether it be, time frame is how long have we got to implement it? If it's comparable to other townships, which, a lot of this is, in Delaware County, there's 5 towns that are affected by the pipeline, and what we want to do is have some uniformity between the 5. Because if each town has different regs, it will make it rough on Delta for one thing, and also on Constitution or whoever the contractor is.
I guess what I'm saying is if, let's say, I'll use East Hanson Brook Road, if
Yep.
the road use plan includes East Hanson Brook Road, and I find out about it after it's done, after that agreement's been made, it'd be actually nice to know in advance,
Mhm.
while those discussions are.
And I'm not sure whether
How does that work?
they are released before or after. I don't know how that's done yet. I'll ask
I would just
my,
ask if it's possible.
right,
for us to
if it's
have
possible in
input.
time frame, yes. And, I think Constitution's road use program is out there available to the public, I believe. So you do have copies of that to know what they're presenting. I saw Brian shake his head yes. So, what we have responded with, I don't know if that's out to the public or whether it's just between the 2 lawyers. But yes, if we can get it to the public in a timely manner, yes, we're not gonna hide anything. We don't wanna, let Bizzle Hill or Otsego Mountain or any of the roads go bad, because that is taxpayers' money in our community.
Doing a good job. We wanna make sure it's-
We want to keep the roads as good as they are or better. And that's what we're looking into. And we're going to have to get out of this soon. And we had about a 20-minute time frame, I think, for questions, and I think we've used that up. And
Okay.
we thank you very much, Chris, for your information.
You're welcome.
And there's pamphlets up here, I believe. For Delta. And I thank you very much, Chris, for coming in and doing the presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening.
Oh, very interesting.
Going like hotcakes.
I know, better bring it up.
Should have brought more.
I know, I thought it was going to be 15 people.
I'll take the last one.
All right.